The last guardrail on the world's largest nuclear arsenals is about to disappear, and most people don't even know its name, the New START Treaty. In this video, I'll explain what it is, what happens if it truly dies in 2026, and most importantly, exactly how ordinary people like you and me can help stop a new nuclear arms race. Watch to the end. For more than a decade, the most dangerous weapons on Earth ever devised by man have been kept behind a thin piece of paper called the START Treaty. These weapons have been kept in check not by peace, not by friendship, but by diplomatic guardrails. And those guardrails are about to disappear. What people call the START Treaty today is actually the New START Treaty, and it was signed in 2010 between the United States and Russia, the two nuclear superpowers who hold about 90% of the world's nuclear stockpile. It sets three limits: no more than 1,550 deployed nuclear warheads each, no more than 700 deployed missiles and bombers, and no more than 800 total launchers. But the safety doesn't come from just the numbers. It's the verification. And that means inspectors on the ground, data exchanges, notifications when missiles are redeployed, serial numbers on rockets so they can be tracked. Not trust, but visibility. The New START Treaty was extended to February of 2026. But for obvious reasons, the relations between Washington and Moscow are the worst they've been since, the Cold War. Russia has already suspended nuclear inspections, and talks about a replacement treaty are as frozen as the Siberian tundra. So the clock is ticking. This treaty has expired, and we're back in the nuclear wilderness. Yay! If a new START treaty is not drawn up and signed by both sides, this is what we can expect to happen. The first thing we lose are eyes on nuclear arsenals. Without inspectors, each side has to just guess what the other is doing. And when it comes to nukes, guessing is a very bad idea. Let's say you're Pete Hegseth and you just had your morning whiskey and you're like, how many warheads is Russia adding to its arsenal? 200? Let's add 300 to ours just to be on the safe side. That's how nuclear arms races are stoked. Not by strategy, but by fear and ignorance. This leads to the second thing that will happen if a new START treaty is not devised: rapid nuclear buildup. The infrastructure for this is already in place. We don't need new factories, we don't need new missiles. All Russia and the United States have to do is upload extra warheads into their existing weapons. And overnight, the number of ready-to-use nukes could jump by orders of magnitude. This leads to the third risk. The third thing that happens as a result of this is the risk of nuclear crisis increases. More weapons on high alert, less confidence about intentions, less visibility, less transparency. One cyber incident, one NATO border briefly violated, one false radar reading. And leaders on both sides, neither of whom are very smart, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are not the sharpest tools in the shed. These same meat-brain chuds are making decisions with worse information than we had in 1985. And this ripples across the globe, not just in the United States and Russia, but in places like China, India, Pakistan, North Korea. All of these states will abandon restraint and say to themselves, why should we hold back? Allies like Japan and South Korea start whispering about their own nuclear options. Europe will face pressure to host more nuclear bombs, and countries like France and Germany will begin to build up their own nuclear arsenals. The entire non-proliferation system begins to crack. The more weapons we have in the world, the higher the chance we have of an accident happening, or a terrorist cell hijacking a nuke and blowing up Rome or London or Washington, D.C. The best case is both sides, the United States and Russia, keep things roughly where they are now and eventually negotiate a new treaty. This is far from ideal, but the status quo hasn't resulted in nuclear annihilation yet. The worst case scenario is we return to form to the 1980s at the height of the Cold War. Thousands more warheads, hair-trigger postures, and a world managed by suspicion rather than inspectors. So, to sum this up, the New START Treaty that just expired in February of 2026 was not a ticket to world peace. It was just a seatbelt Two cars are speeding at each other very fast. Neither driver likes each other. But without that seatbelt, the next crash does not lead to a treaty. It leads to a crater. Call your Congress critters, call your senators. I want the US to extend or put into place a new START treaty with full verification and inspections. Ask 3 specific questions. Do you support keeping numerical limits on US and Russian arsenals? Will you oppose funding for an unconstrained nuclear arsenal buildup? And will you push the administration to begin negotiations on a new treaty? Tell them you want diplomacy and not expansion. Look, I don't want to scare you. The world is shitty enough as it is currently, but this has been an issue close to my heart and close to my anxiety for as long as I've been alive. I was terrified of nuclear war as a kid. Apparently that's a thing, like a random phobia that kids can glomp onto. This is still a clear and present danger to the world. All it takes is one accident, one miscommunication, one flock of birds on radar mistaken for an ICBM, and everything ends. Everything. And fast. All it takes is about 60 minutes from start to annihilation. So we need to negotiate a new START treaty yesterday. I'm Goblinsberg, and this has been the Goblinsberg Dispatch. Oh yeah, and like, comment, subscribe. Peace.